The journal article I selected was Beyond Compositional Diversity, Examining the Campus Climate Experiences of Asian American and Pacific Islander Students. The research question is, what are the institutional mechanisms related to ethnicity that shape the differential experiences among Asian American and Pacific Islander students? There are several reasons why the study was conducted. Asian Americans are still framed as perpetual foreigners and have not escaped racialized, discriminatory experiences. The authors state that an aggregate perspective on data, or data that has been collected from individuals summed up into larger units, may lead to the wrong conclusions about Asian American and Pacific Islander students, that they are academically successful, well-adjusted, and satisfied with their college experiences, which causes them to be excluded from campus dialogues about diversity. The current literature on campus climate focuses on three themes: differential perceptions of campus climate by race, racial ethnic minority students' reports of prejudicial treatment in discriminatory racist campus environments, and the benefits associated with campus climate that facilitate cross-racial engagement. The framework used for the study is the multi-contextual model for diverse learning environments. This framework centers on the diverse students and their multiple social identities and asserts that the institutional context for campus racial climate encompasses 5 dimensions. The 5 dimensions are historical, formal policies and informal practices; compositional, the representation of racial and ethnic groups on campus; organizational, institutional aspects of the college environment that privilege groups over others; behavioral, social interactions students have; psychological, student perceptions of campus racial dynamics. The authors employed a mixed method research design using exploratory, qualitative, in-depth interviews to inform quantitative student survey data. The emphasis on students' lived experiences, which allows the richness and depth of qualitative inquiry to complement the generalizability and breadth of quantitative analysis. The researchers conducted semi-structured individual interviews with 16 Asian American Pacific Islander undergraduate students from a range of ethnic backgrounds. They also used purposeful and snowball sampling approaches to generate a participant sample that was representative of UCLA's Asian American Pacific Islander student populations. With this disaggregate perspective, the researchers employed a combination of in-depth interviews with quantitative data from the University of California Undergraduate Experience Survey. They used questions such as these. Under the compositional dimension, students have experiences being the only one having faculty or peers of the same race or ethnicity. Under the behavioral dimension, it captured the frequency, type, quality, and context of racial interactions. Under the psychological dimension, it captured perceived discrimination, racism, and conflict. To obtain quantitative data, the authors used the University of California Undergraduate Experience Survey. The authors focused on UCLA in particular because of the diversity of the student body. Questions from the UCUES centered around undergraduate student experiences on campus. Because of the small sample size for specific ethnic groups, the authors aggregated ethnic data into 5 regional subgroups: East Asian to include Chinese, Japanese, Korean, and Taiwanese; Southeast Asian to include Cambodian, Hmong, Lao, Vietnamese; South Asian, Bangladeshi, Indian, Pakistani, and Sri Lankan; Filipinos, and Pacific Islanders to include Native Hawaiian, Chamorro, Marshallese, Samoan, and Tongan. All research participants commented on the high percentage of Asian American Pacific Islander students on campus, but found their sense of community specifically within their ethnic spaces. Once students stepped outside of these ethnic-centered spaces, they were reminded of their relative isolation within the greater campus community. Asian Americans are often considered similar to white students, but their experiences with the sense of belonging are very different. For this study, the authors focused on intra-ethnic, inter-ethnic, and interracial experiences. They found highly positive intra-ethnic experiences, but negative inter-ethnic and interracial experiences. Many students described negative inter-ethnic and interracial relations due to insular group-centric thinking, and it hindered inter-ethnic and interracial relations. Things like a lack of dialogue or lack of familiarity with ethnic backgrounds contributed to these negative experiences. Though Asian American Pacific Islander make up the largest racial group at UCLA, the idea that there is universal satisfaction based on compositional representation on campus is a misperception. The implications of this study could help transform institutional practice and policy. For example, developing better outreach or allocating funds and resources to develop programs to help Asian American Pacific Islander students feel appreciated, recognized, and supported. Because of limitations like low sample size of Pacific Islander students or the context of UCLA and its location, the findings from the study might not be directly transferable to other schools across the U.S. As colleges struggle with campus climate and face increasing demands to better serve their students, there is a need for institutions to consider Asian American Pacific Islander students and how they fit into that narrative and campus priorities. As one of the fastest growing student populations as well as one of the most overlooked with regard to provision of support and resources, Asian American Pacific Islander students are in a critical position to define what it means to have a positive campus climate. If institutions want the full benefits of campus diversity, Asian American Pacific Islander students need to be included in the dialogue. This is my list of references for the journal article that was used for this Pachakacha presentation. I really encourage you, if you have the time, to read both the article and this book chapter, as it highlights the different contexts we need to consider in our policy making and procedures as higher education professionals, as one of the major issues affecting higher education is diversity and inclusion. Thank you for listening.